Hey. Well, I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues, and I'm very relieved for that, because if you ask me a gardening question, you'll get a rubbish answer. Sally Cunningham, Anton Rosenfeld, Martin Solanikoff, and Emma O'Neill.
Well, you'd forgot my name there.
Hooray! Exactly, our own experts, which we have many. I've got some questions online as well. Ross.
Yeah.
Okay, which I've got up here, have I, apparently? Okay, splendid. But we also want to give everybody here an opportunity if everybody wants to ask questions. So I'll just kick off with one that I've been given earlier, just to get us going. I will come to you first, Anton.
Okay.
Compost flies in sacks of compost. So silver grow, as it happens, what to do?
Okay, so obviously these are scarred flies. They look unsightly generally because they dance around on the top of your compost. But the main thing to worry about is that they lay their eggs in the compost, and then the little maggots eat away at your seedlings. When you've already got them in there, I would say the best thing to do is, if you've got seed trays that you've been using that compost, I would try and keep the seed trays outside as much as possible, because they really like the warm conditions. When I've had a really bad problem with scarred flies, I found just sticking the seed tray outside seems to really help. In general, if you've opened a bag of compost, do really make sure you fold it down really well and put a brick on top of it, because if you leave it open, then the scarred flies will come straight in and lay their eggs. So that's the best thing to do. So prevention, and then sort of mitigation is putting them outside.
I'm thinking of my 2 open bag of composts at home now. Anyone to add on that, or if not, because we've got quite a few questions to go.
We've also used a biological control with that, so we've nematoded where we've had a problem, because our glass house is obviously warm and damp, which they, as Anton says, they absolutely love. So we have used the biological control, and you can just water that in. That's quite effective.
There's also a mite, which I really, Hypoapsis miles, and it comes in like a pepper shaker, and you shake them on, and you can see the mites crawling in there, ready to attack the scarred fly larvae.
Can you hear us at the back, by the way?
They need to be kept quite warm. The hypoapsis, they want it really for a polytunnel or a greenhouse in summer rather than a living room. They'd like it warmer than most people would find comfortable.
Need to look after them. Very good. You had a question.
No, it was just to add to that with homemade and homemade seed mixes. It's so alive with microorganisms that I think you achieve a balance anyway, and you don't seem to get it. If you buy something in which is coming without any life in it,
Yes,
then you have a problem.
I
If
think
you've got something which is absolutely teeming with life, like
Yes.
compost is, then
Yeah.
something's going to eat it anyway.
Yeah.
Really good point. Really good point. Yes.
It's a sort of wood-based thing, isn't it? So it's got wood in it, I think.
it is predominantly wood
Does that mean
fibre.
that
Yeah.
it's not rotted down in it? It's something to use.
It shouldn't do. I think the problem is any organic matter will attract scarred flies. They just is this thing that will naturally attract them. So it's a difficult one to control, I think.
While we're on organic matter, one of the disadvantages of no-dig gardening is said to be the amount of organic matter needed. It puzzles me why it needs so much more than digging in organic matter. Is there a scientific explanation?
There isn't as such, and actually only needs more organic matter in the first year when you first do it. So they then recommend that you obviously put a decent amount of mulch on in your first year. After that, you can get away with just a thin layer over the top. And so obviously you if you're going to be looking after your soil health anyway, you would be mulching whether you dig or no dig. So you don't have to put more on after the first year.
It's not looking very good.
Which ones?
They look like they're lacking in nutrients, and they look a bit yellow.
Oh, you're on about the beetroot, I think. I think you might be referring to the beetroot.
I think it's more transplant shock, isn't it, Emma?
It's the, as my colleague said, it's to do with the transplanting.
They got put out especially for you, and it was a bit bloody cold last night.
Planting shock. Okay. Any questions from the floor before I go to any others that we've had?
Each leaf curl,
Oh, golly.
Yeah.
an organic way of dealing with it.
Apart from picking every single leaf off, which is fine on a little tree, but hopeless on a big one.
This is a little tree in a pot, and it was in the greenhouse until March. I think
A bit early. Too early. Keep it in until every leaf is fully open. The other thing you can do for an outside tree is do what the Victorians did, which is if it's grown against a wall, have some sort of plastic cover that just protects the top of the tree from the rain. I've found a couple of hanging basket brackets put at an angle, and a sheet of perspex works very well. If you don't get the rain falling on the top of the tree, it keeps most of it off.
So will it survive if I pick every leaf off now?
Every infected leaf, yes. It probably won't crop so well, but it will survive, and if you feed it and water it, it will produce new leaves.
Know what you're doing tonight?
Sorry.
Okay, we have another question here. I'm going to take it to you, Martin. I have a fig tree that seems to have exploded despite being planted with paving slabs to constrain its roots. Should I root prune it? And if so, when?
Yeah, figs in general are quite vigorous plants, as we know.
Yeah.
I think when someone says they're exploded, they just want to grow. They're normally in nature grow to quite a sizable tree, so I wouldn't worry about it. The soil may be slightly more rich in nitrogen.
Bit louder.
Sorry, can anyone hear me? All of it, yeah. So if it's very rich in nitrogen, it will go up. All of it will grow masses of leaves and stems, and you want more fruit than that. So constraining the roots will slow it down a bit. But actually it's more to produce more fruit, so divert all of the energy to produce more fruit. You can do root pruning probably when the plant is dormant. You try to sort of remove 25 to 30% maximum of the thicker stems or thicker roots. Don't remove any of the fibrous feeding roots, because that's going to damage the plant potentially. But yeah, I would just leave it alone and maybe check if you can apply some fertilizer high in potash and something to sort of promote, phosphorus to promote root and flower formation rather than nitrogen to introduce more greenery. But other than that, I would just leave it alone.
The other thing to remember is that last year was ideal for all the Mediterranean things like figs and grapes, so they'll put on loads of growth this year because they've had all that sun last year. If we get a manky summer this year, they'll just sit and sulk next year.
And they really will, won't they? It's
Yeah.
I'm just imagining my fig tree sulking. Anton, here we've got a question. Somebody's got a new plot with heavy clay soil. It's solid with couch grass. How do they get growing veg this year?
Oh my goodness.
With difficulty.
Not sure if there is an answer to that one, but I mean, I would certainly, if they really, really want to grow veg this year, go for something that's pretty competitive, like brassicas or potatoes. I certainly wouldn't go for things like onions or carrots, because you won't be able to find the onions by the end of the year. I would certainly try and put aside some of the plot as well, and put a mulch over it just to sort of kill off some of the couch grass, because otherwise it's just going to keep on coming back. There are some plants which are meant to give out a sort of allelopathic chemical against couch grass. Buckwheat is meant to be one of those ones, so you could try digging it out and then planting some buckwheat on part of it as well. There have been some trials which have shown that that does actually have quite a good effect. What you're meant to do is let the buckwheat it grows really, really quickly. It grows to a few feet within about 4 weeks. It really does sprout up. And then once it's got to that stage, you're meant to just cut back the leaves and dig them into the soil. And that will, again, it's sort of biological warfare between plants. It's the buckwheat is releasing chemicals which will inhibit the couch grass. So some people have had some quite good sort of success with doing that.
Anyone who's doing anything like that, please let us know. We'd love to hear results like that. If you're having a go at that, and it makes a difference, then we get a lot of questions about couch grass, I think, probably over the course of the year.
If you're happy to tolerate some of the couch grass, you can grow through the membrane as well. So exclude majority of light and have strips of membrane or cardboard suppressed with grass clippings or something, and just grow your crop through that.
I would go for cardboard because fishing couch out of woven plastic membrane is bloody awful.
Yeah, it does all break down, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and it's such a hell of a job. You've got to spend ages levering it up if it's rooted through.
Any questions from the floor? I've got some more. Oh, there we go. People are warming up now. I'll go to you first.
Control bamboo from going from your neighbours.
How do you control bamboo from coming in from your neighbour's garden into yours? Good question. Very good question.
There is a product called Bamboo Stop, which is a very tough flexible plastic membrane, but you've got to dig a yard down and bury it horizontally. Sorry, vertically.
Yeah.
And either enclose your bamboo or just put a barrier between you and next door.
Yeah, it's quite pernicious, isn't it? I'm afraid. Yes.
You can keep chopping off the tops and it will have it so that you can actually use the border, but it will keep poking its head up every couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding.
Yeah.
Okay.
All bamboo shoots are edible.
Yes, that's a good point.
Some taste nicer than others.
Another question in the middle.
Yeah, kind of related to controlling other plants. Bindweed.
Yes.
Funny you should say that. I'm just doing a fact sheet on bindweed. Which one is it? The great galloping great bindweed.
Yes.
Now that one's not so bad in a way because the roots of that are fairly shallow. They tend not to go down below a foot or 30 centimetres, depending on which system you're using. Persistence.
Yeah.
If you can get it when it's coming up as it is now and about 18 inches long, that is at its most vulnerable stage. Keep pulling out where you're cultivating other things, mulch on top, but be prepared to repel borders. Anything that pokes its head out, slap another layer of newspaper or cardboard or whatever it is you're using on top of it, and watch around the edges, and you'll leave the mulch on for at least 2 years. But basically, it's the same as my mother was given the advice when she moved into her first garden, which was hoe it on Tuesdays. And the thing wasn't anything special about Tuesdays, but you had to get on top of it regularly. And eventually you will wear it out and it will go. And so long as you can keep it up, it will go. If on an allotment site, it will be back because it'll be in somebody else's.
Yeah.
And if it's next door, it will be back because it's got a reserve.
The worst thing is getting it in your compost heap. That's the worst.
Oh God, yeah, don't.
Yeah, but it is, you can get on top of it, I think, is the message of hope.
It will have, if it's seeded, it will have seeds that pop up every so often.
Yes.
But so long as you keep yanking everything out and keeping an eye on them, you can sort those.
Emma, I've got a question for you here. I have heavy clay soil and I'm gardening using no dig. However, I do like to use a Japanese hoe to disturb the topsoil occasionally, e.g. for soil preparation for seeds. Is this still no dig?
Well, the simple answer is yes. It is still no dig. No dig is not digging and hoeing is not digging, so that is fine.
Okay.
Perfectly acceptable.
Emma loves to dig. Emma's a person who loves to dig, so she's the one to ask. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I've got another question here. What can I grow in a bed under a tree which had strawberries in it that have died for questionable reasons? It seems dry. Golly, so a bed under a tree.
Do they want ornamentals or edible?
I assume edibles. Well, what can I grow in a bed under a tree which had strawberries in that have died for questionable reasons? This is Helen. Helen, are you here?
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
It could be, doesn't have to be edibles. It would be quite nice if it was.
So it's basically an under a tree
It was
planting.
meant to be part of the 3-bed crop rotation.
Ah.
But why they designed the garden so that one of the 3 beds was under a tree, so had complete different conditions, the other 2.
Yeah.
Don't know.
So sorry, people at the back couldn't hear that. So
Sorry.
no, that's fine. I'll just, yeah, that's right. So 3-bed rotation system in your community garden is this. Yeah. And somebody designed one of those beds to be under a tree. And last year you put your strawberries under the tree and they all died. So what can you do in a 3-bed rotation system under a tree is
Yeah, I'll add
the
a bit
question.
more. So the
Oh, have we got an answer to that? Somebody's got an answer behind.
Can I just add, so the strawberries had been growing very healthily for 3 years, and then they just seem to completely die. So I did think maybe I'd missed some kind of pest problem at root level, but the bed also, compared to the other 2, and they've all been treated the same. I mean, they had imported topsoil over what is the ground will be clay, but it was quite a sandy imported topsoil, and then I've been mulching on top, but that bed just seems much drier than the other 2.
Right, okay.
I would say
Okay.
it's competition probably.
We've got somebody who wanted to put an answer in.
In our community garden, we've got a mature ash tree, and we've grown very successfully under it, a Japanese wineberry. It's like a kind of cross between a raspberry and
Yes.
another fruit,
Yeah.
but it produces fruit, nice little red sweet fruits, and it's perennial, and you just have to prune it. So we've not tried anything like strawberry on there, which presumably want more light than you're getting under
Yeah.
the big tree.
I was going to say a salmonberry,
Oh, yeah, probably the same type of thing.
but you might need to put a barrier in the same way as the bamboo because it does sucker. And that has beautiful sort of maroon purple flowers in the spring, like a single rose, and it has these little fruit, rather like a large raspberry, orangey.
I'm liking the sound of that. Okay, any more questions from the floor or from online? Have we got any from online, Ross? No? Okay. Any questions from the floor? Yes, right at the back.
Yes, unlike previous years, our compost seems to have no worm in it.
Oh,
Any particular reason why that might be, or is that
I might.
previous years it's been full of worms when we turn it over.
Is it too dry?
This
Yeah, so I've got a couple of gardeners here muttering. They think they've got an answer for you. Fire away. You go.
Is it not too dry by any chance?
we have plenty of rain in there.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so it's not too dry. Okay, no worms at all.
One or two, but nothing like.
Nothing like your normal.
Could they have died off? Did you have that very cold spell just before Christmas?
Very brief.
No, it wouldn't be that.
What bit of snow has.
No, I just wondered because here we lost quite a lot of worms in because we had quite a prolonged frost, although it wasn't very cold, but it went on for a long time and we lost quite a few things because everything was growing lushly before. And I wondered if something similar had happened to the worms, in which case, as soon as they get breeding, it might be just because we've had cold nights and they haven't been breeding as they usually do.
Yet, I know. Tuck them in nicely. Yeah, exactly.
If you want to know what they're up to, go out on a nice, warm, rainy night with a torch, and you should find lots of worms at it on your lawn. Whether it's pervy to watch them, I've no idea.
Any more questions from the floor, from anybody? Oh, gosh, suddenly all sorts of hands coming up. Right, yes, lady at the back there, yes.
Any chance of my cordyline coming back after last
Yes.
winter? It
Yes.
just stick,
From the base.
yeah.
Yeah, they sometimes don't do anything till mid-June, but they're very, very hard to kill.
Good, I just leave it.
Yeah, just leave it. Yeah, chop a bit of the top off and wait and see, but it's almost certain to sucker.
Okay, which is good news. There were a couple more hands came up over this side.
Can I just
Oh,
say
yes,
though,
sorry, yeah.
Sal, I don't wish to disagree with Sally, but I think if it hasn't come back by mid-June, that it has died. Mine at home has definitely died.
It's also quite wet as well.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was too wet. I've got very heavy clay soils at home. It's too wet, too cold, and it has definitely give up the ghost. It's rotting.
Yeah, I'm only saying because I thought that a long time ago in the garden and spent ages digging one out. And by the time I got right to the bottom, the top was all rotten. And when I got right to the bottom,
It was
there
still
were
alive.
still roots coming
Okay,
up.
I need to move it on because we're
Sorry.
running out of time. We've got other questions. So any other, yeah, so I had a few more hands went up. Oh, yes, go on, yes.
Coffee grounds,
Ah, yes.
starting on very heavy Staffordshire clay. I sprinkle quite a lot of it on a small area of grass. And I put some in the compost bin. Any other suggestions for you?
And Tom?
I think it's better to put it in the compost because it can even have a bit of a what's called an allelopathic effect. It's like one of those is again that biological warfare that it stops other things germinating. So if you put it in the compost, those compounds break down. It's full of nitrogen. It's a good activator for your
And a
compost.
two kilo bag.
You can put quite a lot in your compost. Yeah,
Okay,
May I say something very quickly on that one?
yeah.
It also seems to get rid of rats in the compost.
ah,
They moved out very promptly.
Yes.
Oh my God, I need to do that.
so we've got to try it. This is a revelation. Fantastic. Okay, coffee grounds on your compost heap will deter rats, we're told. We've got to try that out, definitely. And let us know how you get on. Yes. Yeah. They're around.
I can find some around. Yeah, I'm sure I can find some.
There was another question here. Yes.
How do I get a wisteria to flower? I bought one for my 60th birthday 13 years ago
Oh,
from a patch up in Kent, and it had flowers on it. And I wanted a pink, and he said it was magenta pink. Anyway, on the way to the car, he was probably about 90, I think. Carrying this thing for me. On the way to the car, 2 flowers fell off. And then I didn't dare say anything to him because I thought, well, he's a bit older, but just forget about that. And then on the way home, my husband did an emergency stop and all the rest of the flowers fell off.
right.
Oh
I
dear.
can't see what colour the flowers are, just don't.
And it's never flowered since.
I don't know how to get it to flower.
I think I would suggest you start again, to be completely blunt. But, you know, what I know about wisterias, which is a little bit.
The problem could be because I'm trying to grow it in the tub because I thought it greater than standard. But
Yeah.
it's better to grow to the standard in soil rather than in the.
Yeah, they do like quite a lot of
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the feeding. So again, high potash or
Yeah.
stuff like that in the autumn will promote the bud formation. And if you didn't break the stem where the grafting union was,
Speak up.
sorry, if you disturb the grafting union and you just got the rootstock, then you won't have flowers for several more years potentially. So if the stem is, if the plant is intact, it will flower again at some point. But if you broke it, it may be up to 15 years. Okay. Now you should.
Might want
flower.
to start again. I'd say start again. 13 years, long time to wait.
Is it in full sun? Is it in full sun?
The other thing is, though, I found I had a similar problem, and my wisteria just had stacks and stacks of leaves constantly, and it was because it was too happy, basically. It got too much nitrogen, and you need to up the potash.
And the pruning at the right time of the year and the right pruning as well.
I think we're nearly out of time. Okay, unless there's any burning question, one last final chance. If not, oh yes, go on then. Last one. Final, you're going to have the last word. You, yes, yeah.
So I want to know why you've got so much bare earth in your garden. More and more, I've been trying to avoid any trace of bare earth in my growing areas. So I've either undersown, I've either got plants in there, I've got green manures, I've undersown, I've got mulch, or all upstairs I've got a bit of cardboard and something on the top to make it look a bit prettier on the top. But the one thing I don't have is bare earth. And when I do come to use that soil, it is alive with worms and life, and it seems to be really happy. So I don't understand your.
Mainly because most of ours we had lots and lots of green manure everywhere, so we didn't have bare earth, but we have chucked it and dropped it and already dug it in, and they're prepared, ready for, I've got lots of stuff hardening off, ready to go in. So I'm at that in-between stage before it goes in. And quite frankly, we ran out of time before you all arrived.
Good answer, very good answer. Yeah. Okay, well, I've got a couple of jobs I'm supposed to do, and one is that I've got to announce some winners of competition. So the competition to do with varieties of beans and picking those has been won by Julia Robinson. Is that right? Or is that the name of the bean? Maybe we should name. Should we name a bean after you, Julia? I think we need to name a bean after you in your honor. So you now have a lifetime supply of open pollinated seeds. I hope you're going to take this responsibility seriously and plant them, sow them, save them, give them to your neighbours, get them out there. Yes, brilliant. Well done. How many beans were in the jar? Was in fact the answer was 1,901 beans, and Emin, you have won the climate change garden book. Fantastic. There we are. Thank you. Absolutely brilliant.
What was your answer?
Oh, yes, sorry, I forgot to say that. Yeah, 61 out she was. Yeah, yeah. Not far off. Yes, 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 a very mathematical assessment there to get to our winner. So that's great. The only thing I need to say is I'm sort of closing the event now, which I'm sorry to say. You are free to continue exploring the garden. However, the minibus for the station leaves at 4:30 prompt from the front of the building, and we're suggesting you gather there from 4:15, 4:20. And it does leave. There's nothing we can do about it. If it's gone, it's gone. So please make sure you're there in time. And we probably need to politely ask you if you're still around to be gone by 5, if that's okay. So we've got quite a lot of clearing up to do. But thank you so much. I can't believe, look at, you're like the survivors. You're everybody who's stayed to the bitter end. So thank you. And I think the gardener's question time, I've learnt loads as usual. So I really hope it was worth staying. So thank you very much. It's been a lovely day. We've been thank you.
I wanted to ask you a question.
Oh, didn't